Hey everybody, I'm BJ and this is Brickhouse Builds, and I do a lot of motorcycles in this shop, and throughout my career of working on bikes I use a variety of different tools. So this video is going to be all about 10 stupidly simple tools that you need in your garage. So to do this, I'm going to actually break this up into 3 main categories. 1 being household, 2 being traditional tools, 3 is odd yet obvious, and then the 4th is going to be a single bonus item that is a must-have. So let's dive right in. Now to start out our tools category, I'm going to go with JIS screwdrivers. Now I have a couple options here. I've made this actual dedicated rack to keep these things separated on my workbench. Now when working on Japanese motorcycles such as what I do, the fasteners on these things are slightly different. And a JIS screwdriver is a must-have if this is something that you do often. You can put a lot of torque on these things and it will not strip out. These are very awesome to have. This set here in black I bought, probably 5-6 years ago at this point or more, and I'm still using them to this day. This one's a little bit short because I accidentally hammered it, but that's a different story altogether. These over here are actually an impact screwdriver. So there's a number 2 and then a number 3. And being an impact, you can load these things up, put some force on them with a hammer, and it helps crack some screws loose. So these are a must-have for sure, and something I use literally many times per day. Now next up on the tools list is going to be something that you may or may not have, you may or may not have heard of. This is a plastic razor blade. Now everybody has either a box cutter or some sort of metal straight razor blades in their toolbox. It's a very obvious thing to have, but sometimes you need just a plastic razor blade. So what I find these are great for is scraping grease and grime and dirt off of things like old mufflers and whatnot. You can clean a lot of stuff with this and it won't damage your base material. It's obviously plastic, so it's a lot softer. And that's been a very helpful, handy tool to have around the shop. Next up on our list is a critical one. You guys have to have this. This is a carbide scraper. And this is something I use to get a lot of gaskets off of like case surfaces and clean up mounting surfaces. So the tip on this thing is ground perfectly smooth, and this is what you need to not gouge and mar your aluminum cases for your engines and stuff. Whenever you pull those things off, a lot of times you'll have a gasket that will rip, and this is the tool that I use to remove those. Now I'm gonna have all of these tools in an Amazon storefront list, but I won't exactly have this one. This is a Goodson Super Scraper. They don't have these on Amazon, but I will link a compatible one. This is a 5/8 inch wide with a rubber handle on it, and this is just more comfortable for working. You gotta think, whenever you're using this, you're usually covered in oil and grease, so it gets slick. So that's why I prefer the rubber handle one versus, let's say, a plastic one. So I'm gonna link something very similar to this. Now moving out of the tools category, I'm gonna move into the household items. Now these things are probably already in your household, but you haven't thought about using them as a tool. So first up in this category is Easy Off Oven Cleaner combined with 4/0 steel wool. So these two items together are great for removing light pitting and just light rust from chrome without scratching your base material. This combination works very well, but what you do, get your 4/0 steel wool, put some oven cleaner on it, and then you just apply light pressure. You're not pushing down on this, and it will do a lot of work on actually cleaning up chrome, and it will make it look great. And then after that, you can continue with the polishing process. It's awesome. Next up in the household category, mesh baskets. So something you would find in the kitchen. I use these things every day for parts organization while I'm cleaning. So I have an ultrasonic cleaner back there, and these are great for holding things like jets and small components that you don't want to have just kind of strewn about the entire ultrasonic cleaning basket. So you organize them into a small mesh basket, keeping them all contained. Just makes life a lot easier. I also use those whenever I need to use my parts washer or my solvent tank. So I can lay everything in there, run solvent on it, and I don't lose anything, and that makes life a lot easier. And then finally, to round out the household category, I chose toothbrushes, okay? I got a stack of them here. If you guys have seen probably any single video of mine, you know that I'm just always using toothbrushes. So I mentioned the solvent tank. I've got some parts. I'm using these mesh baskets. I'm scrubbing stuff with a toothbrush. So non-invasive, you have it around. Make sure you grab your sister's used toothbrush, you know, whatever, bring it into the shop, and that is a crucial tool. It's very cheap, very easy to have. So I usually buy them in like a 10-pack at this point, and just keep them around the shop. They're everywhere. So next up is a fun category. I made this one up. It's called Odd Yet Obvious. So maybe things that might seem odd to have in your garage, but when you think about it, it becomes pretty obvious. My main one for this category is actually a dental pick set. So they come in a little case like this, and of course, everybody's been to the dentist. If you haven't, you're pretty lucky. But they have a lot of cool picks. And I know you guys have all used some cheap picks that can deform really easily, and they might be a little bit too big. Well, the dental picks come in a variety of different sizes, and they're just fantastic. So these things are pretty resilient. Obviously, you're not gonna be, removing circlips or anything with them, but these are a must-have and something I use literally every day. These are one of those tools that if I ever freaking zip this thing up and put it in my toolbox, I have to get it right back out about 5 minutes later because I'm just constantly using them. So definitely go grab a set of these. They're just awesome to have around. Next up in the odd yet obvious category, these little plastic bottles here. So I use these needle tip applicators all the time. And I kind of picked this trick up from Alan Milliard. I had seen him using a small needle tip applicator to put oil on his points and stuff, and I thought that was the coolest thing. So I went and found some of these. They came from Hobby Lobby. I'll link them in my Amazon storefront. But definitely grab some of these. You can see I have 3 different colors. So I have oil, some grease, and then brake fluid. So just really handy. They're really precise. They help keep things clean. Next to that, it's a ketchup bottle. It's filled with acetone. I use this constantly. I do a lot of TIG welding, so I need to keep things clean. So ketchup bottle, put some acetone in it, put it on a rag, and you're good to go. It beats having to carry around that big gallon jug and then like tip it over on a rag and stuff. It's just very easy. Rounding out the odd yet obvious category, plastic wrap and tin foil. Okay, everybody has this stuff, but you may not have it in your garage. So plastic wrap, I use this whenever I do fabrication of seat pans, wherever I'm working with fiberglass. I can wrap up the area that I don't want anything to be dripped on, and this is a really good way to protect things. I've also used this whenever I go to line or clean fuel tanks, getting rust out of them or applying a liner. I can seal the outside of the tank, that way I don't drip anything onto paint if it is a painted tank, and that is just further protection. As far as tinfoil is concerned, I use this primarily when I'm doing oil changes and stuff like that. So a lot of inline 4 bikes, the exhaust runs down and it runs underneath the crankcase. Usually it's underneath the drain plug or it's under the oil filter. It's always a pain in the butt. So what I do is I take that tinfoil, you drape it over your exhaust or anything that's important in the way, and whenever you undo your drain plug, you can actually make a channel for your oil to drain out and down into the receptacle that you need. So I find that that's a lot easier for cleanup. It makes it so you're not dripping oil all over your exhaust, which you then fire your bike up and it's smoking all over. Just a lifesaver. I use this all the time. I've shown it in many videos. So definitely grab a roll of tinfoil, keep it in your garage. So finally, to round out this top 10 list, my number 10 is more of a must-have, and that is drip trays. Now I'm gonna break this down into a couple categories here. If you're like me and you have a lot of bikes on display that might drip a little bit of oil and you want to keep things looking nice, you can go pick up some nice stainless trays. These kind of are for a kitchen. These are great for parts organization, catching oil from your leaking Benelli over there. Just anything you would obviously need a little tray for. But if you don't want to go that far, if you don't want to have something that nice, of course, you have baking sheets, okay? Grab one of these out of the kitchen, they'll never know. So whenever you retire a baking sheet, they are great to have in the shop. I use that one for like stripping paint and stuff like that. That's why there's a paintbrush there. They're great for just catching oil. I mean, anything you need a shallow, low profile drain for, they're great. These guys right here, you may not have thought of. These things are used food receptacles. So this guy right here, I love this tray. I've got so many of these. They're actually from a ramen noodle set that I buy, and I just save all the trays. They're perfect. This, just a smaller one. I'm thinking this one might be like a KFC coleslaw container, something like that, but it's smaller. They usually come with lids. It's great. I highly recommend Red Robin containers. They have a big plastic lid on them. I think half of the CBX engine at this point is in Red Robin containers. But yeah, used food receptacles are great. I know everybody's got some Tupperware lying around. Obviously that's something you can use, but these may not be something you've thought of. But anyway, that is my top 10 list for stupidly simple tools that you need in your garage. I have so many other ideas for different tools that I can put into a top 10 list. I will continue to make these videos. I think they're a lot of fun. But anyway, put a comment down below on a tool that you might use that we may not have thought of. I think that'd be a really cool discussion to have. So I hope you guys like this video and hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.